Hey, life group leaders, hope you're enjoying your community dinner together and having good time together. I thought we'd just mix things up a little bit and try to, I suppose, start the year with a little bit of vision together as a collective. We've got life group leaders meeting all over the show, and I thought it'd be good for us to maybe just get a little bit of some of the things that we've heard across the board. We had a vision day the other day and some great questions were fielded there from various life group leaders. And we just thought, let's pull it all together. And maybe I'll just start by sharing something of my sense. I mean, it's a new year, but man, last year we heard that prophetic sense of green shoots, some new life that's coming up. And my goodness, I feel as a pastor like there are so many evidences of God's amazing new life, some amazing new things that He's up to in the life of our church. And I trust that you in your community of life group and the people that you're witnessing are sensing something of that new life. I think of Colossians 1 verse 6, which says, in the same way, the gospel is bearing fruit and growing throughout the whole world, just as it has been doing among you since the day you heard it and truly understood God's grace. And it just seems like God's doing something special. And I really do pray and I do trust that you as life group leaders are experiencing that personally and also experiencing that as you witness people in your group. What I want to do for a couple of minutes is just talk through something of where we're at. What are we talking about? What are communities? Refresh our vision there. One of the questions that popped up is, what are we doing with communities? What do we believe about them? And then talk a little bit about strategy around new groups and new people coming to our groups and things like that. And how do we do that? And then just share something of what we've been learning. So let me go ahead and try to do that as quick as I possibly can. Firstly, what's our community structure all about? Well, as you may have noticed, all of our eldership couples give leadership to what we call a community. A community is a group of life group leaders and their two ICs, interns, support leaders, whatever you want to call them, that make up a community. There's between sort of 3 and 5 life groups per community. And it's been amazing to see that we've just started a new one. Tawanda and Joe are now leading a community of life group leaders, and just so grateful to watch God kind of growing us as we sort of grow as a church. What happens in communities is really that life group leaders build a track record of friendship with other life group leaders and of course with their community overseers, us as elders. And we get to, I suppose, guide, to shepherd, and to walk the journey with you as you lead your life groups. This is our primary strategy for shepherding our community. And so we say to people, if you're not in a life group, we can't shepherd you. And we do that because we as elders give oversight to you as life group leaders. And so that's how we help people to walk the journeys of presence, formation, and mission. That's how we guide people through various life realities as we become a community of people, as the scriptures seem to describe, who walk together. As community groupings, we want to help you to grow new skills, to encourage one another through difficult times, and to essentially learn from one another as we go and as we develop friendships. So that's what communities are about, and your community leaders are there to, in a sense, guide us into that experience of increasing friendship and growth as leaders. We also want to just quickly answer the question of, what about our strategy for new groups and growth? In the beginning of the year especially, loads and loads of new people pitch up. And what is our best practice for how we grow groups, etc., etc.? So let me suggest firstly our best practice for what we prefer when it comes to growth. Firstly, when people arrive at our church and are looking for a life group, our first preference is that, well, they came with a friend. And that friend is already in a life group. And so we say, have you come with a friend? And if so, whose group are they in? Because that just helps so much more for the chemistry of the group and for the chemistry of the person, that they settle in and they've got someone to walk with. And so that's how relationships trump everything. We want to help people build relationships, and if there are existing ones, to help them walk in that way. However, sometimes our groups begin to grow, and there are some people who don't have a relationship. In that case, we try very thoughtfully and carefully to place people in groups we think will be suitable. What we also try to do is to plant new groups for new people. We realize that at times it can be rather disruptive to have a whole bunch of new people come to an existing group when it's just settling, it's just getting some chemistry, and there's a whole new learning process of relationships. What we want to encourage you to do is to maintain an openness as a group, a hunger to be hospitable, to warmly accept new people, whilst at the same time, we want you to know that we're partnering to raise leaders and to preferably plant new leaders to start new groups. And that's also our task, by the way, is to keep prayerfully saying, God, who in the life of our group might you be raising up to plant a new group? And that happens, and we must expect that to happen. That sometimes faith rises in people to say, I'm up for a new challenge. I want to go start a new community. And that we would begin to have a rising tide of people saying, I would like to start a new group. And that is a great way to get new people into the group and to start another outcrop or sort of frontier for the gospel. So firstly, we love multiplying, we love new groups for new people, but sometimes we actually multiply existing groups, and we've seen success in that of late, and we're so grateful for that. Hey, some things we've been learning just around leading our life group of late, and I'll try not to bore you, but we've just experienced such an amazing sense of new life in the life group that we're leading. The last 6 months of last year, we found ourselves really working hard with our life group, and life groups do have seasons, but struggling with commitment, struggling with a sense of life and togetherness. And so we've just learned a few things that we're applying this year. This is not to say you need to do that. I just want to share with you something that I think could spark some fresh vocabulary and some stuff that we've been learning. Firstly, one of the things we've refreshed or renewed this year is commitment. We started the year and said, hey group, what does renewed, refreshed commitment look like to this group? And one of the things we first started with is we got a core of our life group who are slightly more invested, who have a bit more of a leadership gifting on them. And the week before we met, we said, hey guys, let's talk life group. What does commitment look like? What does it mean to succeed this year? How do we all develop a fresh sense of ownership around this? And that was a powerful experience for us as a group, because the next time when we met as the wider group, there were sort of 6 others alongside Nix and I who were just as invested in what God's called us to this year. And so really want to encourage, a fresh sense of commitment, but also maybe enlisting a few others who you think could really put wind in the sails of the vision that you want to accomplish as a group, and really ask them to buy into it with you. Hey, we've encouraged fresh commitment on a weekly basis. Fresh commitment in terms of communication. What does it look like to communicate well if we're not going to pitch up, or if people are going through things? And then, of course, what does it look like to be honest in terms of our own lives and what we're going through, and to actually commit even to pitching up on Sundays. We realize, hey, this is a very atomized world where people kind of go in their own orbits, but that, hey, these 2 rocks of Sundays and our life group week in the weekday week is so crucial, and really wanting to call people to that as a value, as a priority. So refresh commitment, then mobilize team. I've just mentioned that, but we've mobilized a core team in the life of our group to say, guys, this isn't my group, this is our group. How do we own that together? And like I said, we gathered a core group together. We also then have done a radical new delegation this year. We've even delegated our roster to a person who is a guru at rosters. Roster Robin, I will call her, because that's who she is, and she is phenomenal. We've also shared the conversation. We've put lower pressure on coming ready to give a sermon, and higher responsibility on coming ready to go through the group guide and facilitate the chat. And so this term, Nix and I are hosting the chat once, maybe twice. For the rest of the time, others in the group are doing that, and it's just so empowering for others. We've got a person who helps with the kids each week, that we roster each week. Last week we had Fab with one of the young kids on his back running around while the rest of us were having a great chat. He had fun, and we had a fantastic chat because the kids started getting a little crazy. He knew it was his week. If things got out of hand, he would go there, and it was such fun. We got food roster for people who are going to bring snacks if we're going to snack. And then I think most importantly, we've had a renewed vision for wanting to actually be with God and become disciples of Jesus. We've realized our life group is not a book club, and it's not a community group just to hang out and build friendships. We want to become like Jesus. And so we've pulled out a guitar already this year. We've sung a song together. We've had slower time of worship. And although we're getting to the discussion, we're wanting to prioritize actually just being with Jesus. And although the guitarist's actually pretty good, the singing with the rest of us isn't amazing. That sense of starting in worship has been radical. And I hadn't worshipped in life group for many years. but what a wonderful touch it's been to really say, hey, we're here for something different. We're here to be with God and not just to be a kind of relationship building group. We're building relationships on the back of a huge value called becoming like Jesus. So I suppose to land this moment, and I hope it's been remotely helpful for you, questions that we want to ask you is, what are some of the training needs that you've got? Maybe in your discussion, you want to share some of the things that you would like to grow in and get better equipped in over the year. That's what our community groups are about. We don't provide all the training up front because it's inexhaustible. There's so much that we could look into. But what we've said is we'll give the basic scaffolding of training, and then we want to be just a phone call away. If you're feeling like I need to grow my ability to facilitate conversation, hey, then we've got some resources for you. Your community leaders would love to talk and find out, and we share ideas. If you're going through pastoral difficulties and you're wondering, how do I help people through this? Hey, we're a phone call away, and we want to be kind of more and more in the model of Jesus, which says, when we got questions, we ask, and we want to learn from people around us. So our communities are there to walk each other through this maturing, this growing process. So we're training on the go as we learn how to make disciples. So, hey, let me end by saying thank you so much. Thanks for teaming with us. Thanks for being amazing people at loving your communities, loving your life groups so well. And really, we're committed to continuing to make disciples. And everything we do, from building relationships, etc., is kind of just a joyful tool for the task in making disciples who are able to be present with Jesus, who are being formed into his image, and love the mission of Jesus. Have some great discussion.